Hello and welcome to the channel. This is going to be part of a series that I want to do about my history with gaming and stuff like that, mostly on handheld gaming. Wow, I can't talk. Handheld gaming. Now, my first handheld was actually a Game Boy Pocket that I got for Christmas. I think it was in about 2002, 2003 or somewhere around there, or maybe even 98, 99. Can't quite remember. I remember which house it was in. It was at my dad's place that he had at the time. I could kind of pinpoint roughly, but I don't remember what year it was. But I'd gotten a Game Boy Pocket for Christmas and a copy of Pokemon Blue. And my cousin was over at the time, and with my uncle, and he had gotten also a Game Boy. I think he got a Game Boy Color, and he also got Pokemon Red that same year. Now, I tried to find my Game Boy Pocket and my copy of Pokemon Blue when we had to move and stuff, but I couldn't find it, so more than likely it got thrown out. But in the last couple of years, I did get myself a Game Boy Advance SP from a local game store, and then I bought this Game Boy Advance, which I have shown on the channel before, from Etsy. Now, at the time, this was probably the best Game Boy you could get, because it did have a backlight. Now this is the AGS 101. I mean, no, the AGS 001. The AGS 101 had another setting for a higher brightness on the screen. Now, this one I got for about maybe 60 bucks Canadian. Or it was $49.99 Canadian plus tax, so it was almost 60 bucks. And it came with the charger, and I recently just charged it. Now, with this Game Boy Advance, this one was a lot more expensive. This one cost me between $200 and $300. Now the reason for that is it has an IPS screen, which I freaking think is awesome. So this one has an IPS screen. There are other modded Game Boy Advances that you can get. I chose the shell and the buttons for this Game Boy from a selection that they had, and I wanted the gold, and I kind of wanted gold buttons, but the best that they had were yellow. And currently in this system I have Pokemon Emerald Moemon version, so it's a hacked version of Emerald, and I've been playing it for the last couple months. So yeah, I haven't been playing it as much lately because of how I've been feeling. I'm filming this towards the end of August of 2022. I'll probably upload this pretty soon. I did a short that I wasn't feeling very well, and I haven't uploaded anything since. Yeah, I wish I still had my copy of Pokemon Blue, but in here I have all my Game Boy games that I've purchased. And the nice thing with the Game Boy Advance is that it plays Game Boy Color, original Game Boy, and stuff like that. I got Tamagotchi pretty cheap. I got Mr. Nuts. I don't think I've played this very much. But in this one I have another hacked cartridge, and this is called Pokemon All Fairy. So it's got all 7 releases of the original Pokemon games, including Pokemon Green, which was released in Japan with a English translation and stuff like that. So it's got gold, silver, crystal, yellow, red, blue, and green, all on one cartridge, which I think is pretty awesome. I have been trying to find another one of these cartridges so that I can trade Pokemon between them, because I do have a link cable that I did get when I had originally had a Game Boy. Thankfully I did find that. Yeah, it looks like I might have to get the original cartridges, or the knockoff ones or something like that. And I have played a little bit on this, and I did originally beat Pokemon Blue, I think twice, because the first time I think my save got erased somehow. I think I beat that game twice, and I think that's the only Pokemon game that I've actually beaten. I have a few other games like Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. I got Sims 2. I got Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. I recently got Duke Nukem for the Game Boy Color. I heard this was actually pretty fun. I did try it out a little bit when I did get this game. Now I think, oh no, this, okay, I have Spider-Man 2, but this Game Boy cartridge is actually defective. I wrote a little D on the back. This one, I actually kind of wanted to do a video around Christmas time. I've had this for a little while, but this is called Pokemon Christmas version. I thought it'd be neat to do like a Christmas game playthrough or something like that, or just play it for a bit around Christmas time. I haven't done it yet. I've had this for maybe 2 years now. I got it just before the actual move. Got this modded version of Pokemon. I haven't had a chance to try that one out. Now this is one game I originally had with my Game Boy Pocket. Yoshi. I also had the Game & Watch, but I don't know what happened to that one. And this one is also a defective copy of Spider-Man for Game Boy Color. I have Action Man. That one was alright. Then I also have Pokemon Outlaw, which I think is, I've played a little bit of this. It's interesting. You can actually steal like people's Pokemon and stuff like that if you have Pokeballs. And then I have genuine copies of Pokemon Sapphire. Tell by the back there. And I can't quite see through the pins there. But this is a legitimate copy of Sapphire. And I also have a legitimate copy of Ruby. I won these two games in an auction, I do believe, and hardly anybody was bidding on them. I managed to get these two pretty cheap, because even like the Pokemon games for original Game Boy, like Pokemon Blue is like 50 or 60 bucks on its own for a genuine copy and stuff like that, which is kind of ridiculous because there are quite a few copies out there in the wild. I think there's like 10 or 15 million copies of Pokemon Blue and Red or something like that that's sold. Yeah, and then at the store that I got this Game Boy Advance at, they have brand new I don't know if they still have them, but they had brand new sealed copies of Gold and Silver, and they were like $160 or something like that each. I think I still have on my desk here. I do. What Is there anything else? I did manage to snag myself another copy of Spider-Man 2. This one actually works. This actually should be in here. I tried everything I could to try and get these to work. I even took them into the same gaming store that I got this Advanced SP at to just clean the pins and see if that would work, but I don't know what's wrong with these cartridges, and I couldn't get my money back or anything from them, which kind of sucks. But yeah, that was my first handheld, and of course recently getting the Game Boy Advances in the last couple of years or so, and some games. It's been nice, and also this one I'm using rechargeable AA batteries. There are other more expensive modded Game Boy Advances that you can get, and the SP and Game Boy Color, where they have like a USB-C rechargeable battery, so you just plug it in with a USB-C cable and you could just recharge the battery instead of having to put batteries in. But I prefer this way because if the batteries go bad, I can always just get new rechargeable AA's, whereas if the battery goes bad and it's built into the system, it's harder to replace. But yeah, I think I want to record some more gameplay videos with this, but I have to record them basically like how I'm recording this video. I don't know how to emulate the games. I don't know how to run the games in such a way that I can have it like full screen. I don't have now. There is a Retron console that does play like Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games, but I just don't have the money to be able to get something like that. And this is my entire Game Boy library right here. It's not very big. My biggest library is on my PS4. I have over 400 games on my PS4 account and stuff like that. But my second largest is probably a tie between my Xbox 360 game collection and my Nintendo Switch collection. I have about 120 to 150 Xbox 360 discs, and then I have probably between 130 to 180 Nintendo Switch cartridges. I haven't counted them lately, but yeah, that's besides the point of this video. Now the next I'll spoil for the next video. Probably the next video I'm going to do is the PSP, because that was my next handheld that I had. So I'll probably do a video on the PSP and my PSP game collection and stuff like that, because I have like 3 or 4 PSPs. Yeah, anyways, I don't think there's anything else I want to say. I think I do want to get another one of these Game Boy Advances that's modded and stuff, but I'm not entirely sure. I think this one's good enough for me to trade like Pokemon between games and stuff. I'm still happy that I got this SP. I do wish it was modded though, with an IPS screen. I don't really use my SP that much. I prefer to play on this because it's got a way better screen. Like, you can clearly see that on camera. And honestly, I like this model of the Game Boy Advance better than the SP. it's got a very vibrant and bright screen. And also, you can adjust the brightness. That's basically what the original screen would be like. I think the batteries are low. I've kept them in here for a while. I'll actually pop them out. But yeah, I do miss having my Pokemon Blue. I wish I could have found it, and I wish I could have found my Game Boy Pocket. But I'm happy that I have this Game Boy Advance now. I never had one when I was a kid. I never had a Game Boy Color either. I just had the Game Boy Pocket, and honestly the screen was terrible, especially in the middle of the day, trying to that's basically how the Game Boy Pocket screen was like. It was, except it was black and white. It was hard to see anything. At least this thing has a backlight to some degree. But like, yeah, I wish Nintendo, and there was also the Game Boy Light. Was it called the Pocket Light or the Light? That actually had a backlight on it. I think it was only released in Japan from what I remember seeing on YouTube. But yeah, this is so far superior. I'm glad that whichever company in China came out with the replacement screens for the Game Boy handhelds. That was awesome. Whoever started doing that, because this is such a far superior screen than any other screen that Nintendo came out with at the time for the original Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Light, even the original Game Boy Advance screen and the original Game Boy Advance SP screens. Like, yeah, I love being able to actually see, even in the middle of the day, in the middle of the sun, I can still see the screen and stuff like that. I know this video's been a little all over the place because, well, it's not scripted or anything. But I'll end the video with saying that I'm starting to feel a bit better. This is probably one of the few videos I've been able to record since I was not feeling so well. But this is one that I'm probably going to release pretty soon. It may even be on a day that I normally don't upload. I haven't decided yet. Or no, I'll probably upload it later today or something like that. I know it's a little bit longer video than I usually do, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoy this video, and catch you in the next one.